Welcome one one and all and we do mean all. It's your boy Nick Nilsson here with the Unists, coming to you live, loud and proud, from the great state of Tennessee. I hope I'm coming through. At the very last minute I realized, oh my god, my mic isn't even plugged in. Boys, I'm running this on a skeleton crew. Please have some grace and patience. Ghostal says, nice weather today. I'm in the midst of a thunderstorm. There is the pitter-patter of rain and some big-ass thunder strikes. But yes, nice weather regardless. Beautiful to be in the rain, or to be out of the rain, let's say. But enough of this nonsense. I'm guessing you guys can hear me again. I almost did this without a mic. Let me see the levels. The music is too loud, I'm guessing. And the mic could be a little bit louder. Oh shit! Oh shit! I think that should be good. Unless, yeah. Let me know, though. Again, I've been trying to fix the audio levels. Sometimes the sound effects like these... Who can relate? Woo! Are twice as loud as me. But I'm guessing it's, I'm hoping that I've got this figured out. Again, it's a little bit counterintuitive, just from watching the meters, but welcome, boys. Welcome to my Windows XP world. We've got a few, what would you say? A few topics today. Let me see, sounds good? All right. Excellent. Then let me just refresh the chat, because it looks like there's some chat problems, but we got a good show today. I've got a wealth of things to talk about, but the first thing I want to do is promote the Sunday stream, which is not happening on this channel. I'm starting to stream on the second channel that I run, Hyper Cathedral, at Hyper Cathedral. It's Christianity based. It's based on Christianity and based in Christian, but it's a bit more serious, hopefully. Dear Lord, hopefully. That just goes into the thing. I want to talk tomorrow about the authorship of Hebrews and the dispute that supposedly exists there. The claim that Catholics didn't keep even just reading the Bible from what they call the laity, right? Non-clergy. There's a Catholic YouTuber called Council of Trent. Well, we'll get all into that tomorrow, but I just want to tease that if you guys are brothers and sisters in Christ, you will not want to miss that out. I will have the link in the description. But let me update this chat window real quick. Make sure we get all of the boys in there. Okay, yeah, looks like it's good. Cheers, mates. But yeah, if we're sounding good, then let's fucking go. We've got some good... Oh, did I set up the sponsors? Oh, gosh. I don't even know what to do first. And again, I had such a problem figuring out a title. Like, again, Saturday stream, not going to get an audience. Not Noir is here, though. That's all I need, bro. It says, God is good. Yes, sir. Oh, shit. God is good. All right, so I have trouble naming the stream something. So I said in the title, Dostoyevsky and debunking a certain thing. I will definitely not say in this stream, especially in the first few minutes, because they will execute me. YouTube specifically. I don't think, again, who knows about other assassination attempts on my person, but yeah, YouTube. Because here's what I'll say: I'm already shadow banned. Half of my comments just disappear. I realize now. Again, it's too schizo to go into, and again, I know people are paranoid about disappearing comments. But if you operate in a space that's in any way dissident, you're going to say things or have opinions that are just sometimes not as polite as they should be, or just rub up against the powers that be, right? And I'm not even talking about controversial things, right? I'm not talking about saying slurs or anything like that. I am really just talking about maybe comments that are I don't even want to say confrontational, but whatever. So again, if I leave a comment, if I respond to someone, it won't appear. So if I start talking about the subject I will be getting into later, good Lord, Lord have mercy on my channel. But that being said, boys, let's get into one of the first things. Actually, this might not be a good thing to get into first. Let's talk about Trump. What do you guys think? It's pretty interesting. I actually want to pull up an old video that I did that actually predicts all of this stuff. Now you might say, Nick, predicting Trump? Or predicting Trump's new second term and the radical dismantling of the status quo that, at least to all, what do you say, all intents and purposes, seems to be at least moving in the right direction. I'm stoked about it. I'm not a doomer like everybody else who thinks, oh, well, yeah, they're doing it. Okay, again, I gotta say, the Schmepstein thing pissed me off. That, I think, rightly pissed everybody off. That's unacceptable and it's unforgivable. But I just more mean generally with DOGE, what they're doing with the Department of Education. So let's take a quick look at an old video that I did that is somewhat predictive in and of itself. What to expect in 2020. The real ones may remember this, but this is one of the earliest videos. I posted it in 2019. So this is a blast from the past, boys, but I think you'll enjoy it. And then we'll get into Dostoyevsky and the unspeakable Italian food thing. Let's take a look.
No one left but me.
Oh, shit. All right, I hit the wrong one. All right, let's try again. All right. There's a little bit of an intro. All right, here we go. Also, I should say, I'm in the middle. It's in the middle of a thunderstorm. The power went out earlier, and so the lights were fluttering on and off. Twice this happened when I was about to start the stream. So if I get struck by a bolt of lightning, or if I get, sacrificed to Thor, whatever, just know that I was a good man. I never gooned, and I want an inflatable tombstone, like those inflatable couches that people used to have, like it was like an arm, whatever. All right, let's get into it. Maybe I should be reading this. So, what decade best regards the decade that we were in, the 2010s or 2020s? And it's the 1930s, right? So this is according to the Neil Howe, who is one half of the Strauss Howe Generational Theory. Let's continue. Many correlations and similarities in domestic, international politics, economics, social, and civil dynamics are astonishing. They fit within the Strauss Howe Generational Theory, which finds that immense political and civil upheavals happen approximately every 80 or 90 years. So he's going to explain a little bit about that. I won't get ahead of myself, but that puts us right at the dawning of a new era. Bro, this was in 2019. I was calling this shit, bro. Give me my accolades. Let's continue. The turnings function thusly. So he's going to go into it now.
Like nature's four seasons, the cycles of history follow a natural rhythm or pattern. Over the last 5 centuries, Anglo-American society has entered a new era, a new turning, every 2 decades or so. At the start of each turning, people change how they feel about themselves, the culture, the nation, and the future. Turnings come in cycles of 4. Each cycle spans the length of a long human life, roughly 80 to 100 years, or the unit of time the ancients called the saeculum. The first turning is called a high. This is an era when institutions are strong and individualism is weak. Society is confident about where it wants to go collectively, even if those outside the majoritarian center feel stifled by the conformity.
Okay, so now this first turning is important because, again, this is essentially what will follow the fourth turning. So pay attention to this. Essentially, he's going to go into describing what the turnings are and then what the generations that are shaped under each turning are marked by. And it's a fascinating theory. Now, for whatever reason, I've brought this up to people on the left, and they think that, for whatever reason... Can I move this up? Yeah. So for whatever reason, people on the left are like, oh, it's BS, it's ridiculous, blah, blah, blah. But the evidence seems to fit, not only for all of American history, but even in a looser sense, like not exactly on the 80 to 90 year cycle that he will go into, but instead, in Western European history, even up... going back until the 1600s, this is the case, in a bit looser of a time frame. But let's continue.
America's most recent first turning was the post-World War II American high, beginning in 1946 and ending with the assassination of John Kennedy in 1963, a key life cycle marker for today's older Americans.
Yeah, so basically boomers, right? I think that's what he's talking about.
The second turning is an awakening. This is an era when institutions are attacked in the name of personal and spiritual autonomy. Just when society is reaching its high tide of public progress, people suddenly tire of social discipline and want to recapture a sense of inner authenticity.
Right? Okay, so they tire of social conformity and sort of the, it's basically losers, or like, feelings of inferiority. But they're also, in some sense, creatively stifled because the hegemony of the masses, so to speak, let's say 65 to 70% of people, you still have a pretty radical 30%, which then we'll see what becomes of them in the next turning.
Young activists and spiritualists look back at the previous high as an era of cultural poverty. America's most recent awakening was the consciousness revolution.
And isn't this... So the conscious... He's going to say that this is from the 60s and 70s, right? And how fitting is this, right? It's so funny that people on the right, or even the dissident right, look back at the 50s as, in some sense, the golden age, 40s, 50s, as one of the high watermarks of American culture. You know, they just look at the nuclear family. Everyone was able to buy a house. The country looked a certain way, let's say. I wouldn't say that, but some might say that. And then the 60s and 70s is marked much more by chaos, upheaval, etc. So that's the second turning.
Banned from the campus and inner city revolts in the mid-1960s to the tax revolts of the early 1980s. The third turning is an unraveling. The mood of this era is in many ways the opposite of a high. Institutions are weak and distrusted, while individualism is strong and flourishing. Highs follow crises, which teach the lesson that society must coalesce and build.
Okay, and part of this, the third turning, the crises that I think he talks about are like Vietnam or, I think that's part of it, but let's hear more.
Unravelings follow awakenings, which teach the lesson that society must atomize and enjoy. America's most recent unraveling was the long boom in culture wars beginning in the early 1980s and probably ending in 2008. The era opened with triumphant morning in America individualism and drifted toward a pervasive distrust of institutions and leaders, an edgy popular culture, and the splitting of national consensus into competing values.
Now, it may seem crazy to mention this, but one of the most countercultural products, I showed a Bart Simpson there, who's just like a emo scene kid. But you don't understand how, and even I don't understand, this is a little before my time, how revolutionary The Simpsons was. Again, it really was parodying, and people can, make think pieces about this that are much more persuasive than I could, but they essentially they cast The Simpsons as a dismantling of the family sitcom. In some sense, whereas the, All in the Family, where you had a racist Archie Bunker main character guy, he was more so almost a fulfillment, the reality of the family sitcom. And so it's almost more endearing. it sort of takes these issues seriously. But The Simpsons is a satire in many ways, and a dismantling of and rejection of the sort of nuclear family. George H. Bush had a famous quote. It was part of one of his campaigns or something, where he says, "We need families more like the Waltons and less like the Simpsons." And apparently the Waltons was another kind of sitcom that he was comparing it to. But anyways, let's continue.
Values camps, red and blue. And finally we enter the fourth turning, which is a crisis. This is an era in which America's institutional life is torn down and rebuilt from the ground up, always in response to a perceived threat to the nation's very survival. Civic authority revives, cultural expression finds a community purpose, and people begin to locate themselves as members of a larger group.
Let's go, right? Okay, so he's describing the fourth turning here. People begin to locate themselves as members of a larger group. When I say cultural expression finds a community purpose. And again, some of this in our recent fourth turning was in large part, or I would say, a lot of it was people facing the specter of, and again, it sounds so cringe to all my cool listeners, but it really was the domination of the woke mind virus. Cringe. I know someone speaking out against woke. Oh, I think the anti-woke people are just as annoying as the woke people. Really, though? Again, philosophic or, maybe aesthetically in some sense, people like Steven Crowder, that's lame as hell. But, and even a lot of the Manosphere stuff is cringe. But again, to then say that, oh, anti-woke shouldn't be a thing or is somehow illegitimate because it's also annoying is retarded. Again, it has to do with the formation of men's attitudes being obsessed with novelty and current thing, which is even worse for me because if you were near the beginning of the sort of anti-woke backlash, I'm talking 2015, 2016 or before, when again, this video was 2019, but Unism started while I was still in school in 2015. Again, people are just they want the new thing. So once they've heard the anti-woke ideas, they say, oh, okay, well, whatever. Maybe woke wasn't that bad, or tell me something new. Yeah, we've heard woke is blah, 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 blah. But no, these things essentially need to be incorporated into the fabric of society, more or less. That is to say, they do need to be understood as, how would you say, as integral to what a person's mindset should be. Let's continue.
Fourth turnings have eventually become new founding moments in America's history.
Let's go, right? Fourth turnings eventually become new founding moments in America's history. Now, will what Trump does solidify that? Well, it's yet to be seen, but we can only hope. All right, let's continue.
Refreshing and redefining the national identity. Currently, this period began in 2008 with the global financial crisis and the deepening of the war on terror, and will extend to around 2030. What precipitates each turning is the aging of social generations into their next phase of life.
Right, so now he goes into what marks each generation. This is so fascinating because it really does, again, the anti-boomer stuff that came out, 5 or 6 years ago? Or 7 years ago, maybe? Very interesting. And again, 7 years ago. This was from 2019. So there are some cheesy memes in this video I'm showing you. But let's continue. Now Nora says, we've come a long way since trying to exterminate conservator discord through corporate media rebranding as domestic T-word. Let me take a look at this. Come a long way since trying to exterminate conservator discourse through corporate media rebranding as domestic. Yes, domestic Q. I got you. Gen X hated Doomers too. Doomers, yes. Well, Doomers, I think we can all agree are, naive and short-sighted, or at least they're just crushed under the weight of, late adolescence, what it means to be a teenager or whatever. But Boomers, or maybe you meant to write Boomers, but again, these animosities are okay. Yeah, so boomers. So again, the idea of generational animosity is something that is only going to accelerate. And also, again, like there's so many, every few years you get a new branding for a generation, so it's all a little bit suspect to be. But these generations, at least millennial, what he calls the Homelander generation, which again, like terrible name. Homelander is basically the Zoomers. That's what he calls the Homeland generation. I don't know what he's talking about there, but let's continue.
Each new generation.
Oh, by the way, guys, I know it's cringe to say, this is cringe for sure, but like the stream, it helps, especially in this early phase, it helps the, YouTube, lets YouTube know to share the video to more people. So again, I know nobody cares. It also, I'll just be honest, makes me feel good. The more likes I get, it's how social media works, bro. Hit that like, man. I will sincerely appreciate you for it. Let's go.
Generation carries with it a generational archetype, a set of common attitudes and behaviors that are shaped by their location in history and distinguish them from their parents. These archetypes show up throughout history.
Okay, so these archetypes show up through history. So much information here. So again, the people that in the first column, the generation is the GI generation. Okay, so I guess that's World War I. Okay, so the third one is the boomers. In their childhood, they experienced the high of America, post-World War II. And then their coming of age was in the consciousness revolution. So that's of the next generation. Their coming of age happened in the 60s and 70s. That's the second turning. The Gen X, they came about in the... What would you say? Is Gen X in the third turning? Or second turn? Whatever. It's a little bit, not confusing, but I'm a little bit rusty on this. And Not Noir even says... Let me put this over here. Noir even says, I never really thought right-wing thought could survive the reaction to J6, but we really did win. Bro, well said. Well said. I gotta say this too. Why don't I pull this up? I shouldn't get too much of a digression, but I'll just say this. You can see me here. What's up, boys? Hit the like. The Babylon Bee did a January 6th documentary, which I actually was watching. What the fuck? What's going on? Sorry, my I won't even play it, but I was just gonna say that whoops. Sorry guys, I'm having a technical mix-up, I guess. Here we go. Okay. Let me see if I can show you just the beginning of this, because I'll finish the comment and then I'll get back to this. But Not Noir says, I never really thought right-winger thought could survive the reaction to J6, but we really did win. But now we got to be vigilant with people who love AI and brain chips. Well said. Like, again, I think we know who you're talking about in some sense. Musk is leading, even though Musk had probably one of the more cogent and articulate critiques of AI, he flipped that bitch and ended up supporting AI for the reason that they all do, or not the reason that they all do, but for the reason that all controversial technologies will eventually be adopted and then later on be mainstream and involuntary, is that someone else will do it worse. Someone will do it less ethically. We have to be first. We have to be on the frontier, because if China gets there, they're going to be harvesting our organs and cloning babies and all this type of stuff. So he changed none of his views substantially despite switching sides. Okay, yeah, let me read. There's no organization more blue-pilled than the Babylon Bee. Old dude I knew from Seattle moved here and changed his politics, meaning he consumes conservative mass media like Babylon Bee. He changed none of his views substantially despite switching sides. How interesting. The thing, too, you know, I am certified based. Oh, shit! Oh, shit! But most of the people that come from California to the South, whether it be what do they say? Our California, Arkansas, or Trashville, Nashville, or Memphrica for Memphis, wherever you go, whatever state you end up in, you're going to bring those inherent values. And even if you think, oh, well, I laugh at the Babylon Bee, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have there hasn't been an ideological shift. You're just more so willing than most, perhaps, to laugh at your own side. And yet, I can very much see that neighbor of yours, you're saying, following that trend. But let me pull up this Babylon Bee thing and watch just the very beginning of it. And then we'll get back to the fourth turning. I swear to God. All right. I love how they do this. All right, fire. Okay, so again, this is great satire. Peak satire. And maybe they were not the first to do this, but excellent. Chef's kiss on this. And so this documentary is called January 6th, the most deadliest day.
Hiroshima, Nagasaki, the heat death of the universe.
Sorry, boys. Sorry about that.
These are just a few of the most deadliest days in human history. But none of them is as deadly as what's become known as the day that will live in infamy. January 6, 2021.
Certain dates echo throughout history, including dates that instantly remind all who have lived through them where they were and what they were doing when our democracy came under assault. Dates that occupy not only a place on our calendars, but a place in our collective memory.
How
December
overdramatic.
7th, 1941.
Look at this. The beginning
September
of this documentary
11th,
is so great.
2001. And January 6th, 2021.
Where were you on January 6th? Where were you guys on January 6th?
In January? I don't remember.
I'm not even sure. School, maybe. I work at a school.
And
January 6th of this year?
I have no remembrance.
I don't know, but I met you a week later.
I have no idea.
I was in Florida, because that's the time I go back to school. But I don't know for sure. We graduated 2022.
Storming
What
the
is
Capitol,
January?
baby. No.
where were you on January 6th?
I was there.
I was in that mob that was going into the Capitol.
Oh, gosh.
Hi.
All right. So that's about all we need to know. Actually, there is one more.
I believe it's been 9 months.
Okay.
Here. So,
There's one more clip I
let's
gotta
get
see.
that Roku remote.
Bro, fire. All right. We'll get back to the fourth turning after I show you this Bernie Sanders clip, and we'll get right into it about fire. You're gonna have to defend yourself because, again, I have not been able to get any explanation of how it doesn't apply. Again, it absolutely makes sense. Okay, we'll get into it. Let me just show this clip. But yeah, defend yourself, bro, please.
Can you believe it's been 9 months since one of the worst attacks in American history?
Important reminder of how close we came to losing our democracy.
Donald John Trump incited the insurrection.
It's a horrifying day that will go down in U.S. history, however much longer that is.
Oh, man. However much longer it is.
Why should we have any kind of sympathy for this cat when he was part of one of the worst acts in American modern history?
Come on, where is
Trump's crazy.
Yes.
He says this, he says that. Don't take him seriously. Take him seriously.
Bro. All right. I just had to see this. Again, the rest of the documentary, it's good. It's cheesy, though. Like, again, some of the satire or some of the parody doesn't land. But, man, the beginning, oh, dude, I was laughing. I was LMAO. That's no better way to say it. But, yeah, fire. Fourth turning is cringe? Bro, elaborate. Let's go.
In a recurring order, as children seek to obey or rebel against their parents. In fact, there's a symbiotic relationship between historical events and how these generations react.
Right, like this cannot be denied. A symbiotic relationship between how historical events shape generations and then how generations shape historical events. That's just sociology. I don't know that any... And so the idea then is that this creates a cycle whereby you can discern a pattern over multiple generations, which is in some sense cyclical. Arden Cobb, what is up, bro? He says, old dude would have been base except for the small hat. Okay, all right. Oh, you're talking about Bernie? Yeah, dude, I was a big fan of him. And again, as much as whatever your views on a certain, group of people are, I don't hold those views myself, although I can say they're not winning any awards in my book. And actually, we do have a special sponsor today that I think you guys will like. Maybe I should do that one. We're already getting canceled, pretty much. Which one should I do? Okay, but back to the... Yeah, Bernie's great. I think anybody who people who... There's a special sort of person who got excited for Bernie and then also got excited for Trump. Those are the homies I want to chill with. Let's go.
Shape or even cause those events as a direct consequence of the generational archetypes. We have names and traits for each of these 4 archetypes, and ultimately each turning is defined by the generation that comes of age.
Right, so this is interesting. Like you see a pattern and then a meta pattern. A rise and a fall, and a rise and a fall. But the fourth turning is much more substantial because there's sort of generational memory, or you see the high point of the boomer generation. Now 3 generations on, you see what has happened. You can sort of measure yourself against the zenith that was previously reached
during that period. The 4 generational archetypes are prophets, nomads, heroes, and artists.
Yes, prophets, nomads, heroes, and what was the other one? Babies?
Prophets grow up as increasingly indulged post-crisis children, come of age as the narcissistic young crusaders of the awakening. These individuals become moralistic midlifers, emerge as the wise elders guiding the next crisis. The most recent example is the baby boomer generation.
Right. So it gives you some insight into the what is it? The psychology of baby boomers. Moralistic, right? They have and many things will change this throughout whatever cycle you're looking at. 100 years before or whatever will be slightly different, but this is very much an accurate depiction or what would you say, description of baby boomers.
Nomads grow up.
Right, I told you there was going to be cringe 2019 memes in this. Instantly dated with the OK Boomer song, but let's go.
Grow up as underprotected children during an awakening, coming of age as the alienated young adults of a post-awakening world.
Okay, fire. Like, again, trash boomers aren't wise at all. Bro, I'm sensing a little bit of edge here. We got a real one on our hands. Maybe you feel that that's... But again, moralistic isn't implying that they have a high morality. It just means that they inherently see the world through a moral lens. It doesn't mean that they are in and of themselves moral. Moralistic just means they're moralizing, which is they have a rather black and white view of things. So again, bro, your misunderstandings are not on me. Fourth turning still stands. Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! And I don't know when I'm gonna play this. I haven't really found a good what would you say? Good excuse to play this yet. So I'm just gonna play it now to get to humiliate Fire until he can come up, and again, humiliate in a jovial kind of light-spirited way. I don't actually, whatever. But what I mean is, until he can give a thoughtful critique of why the fourth turning is anything other than cringe. Like, again, if it doesn't hold up to scrutiny for some evidential reason, XYZ, please, I'm all up for hearing that. But until then, I'm just gonna play this at you, boy.
ओ बारी बरसी खटक गया सी खटक लियांगा बाला मैं मुस्कान का दूल्हा और उसका भाई मेरा साला.
How do you like that, Fire? How you like that? Oh, fuck. Doubted Jing, now I know who Fire is. Bro, get fucked. Again, I thought I had some sympathy before I knew before you outed yourself. I'm gonna play this again. Get fucked. How you like that? Let's go.
These individuals mellow into pragmatic midlife leaders during a crisis and age into tough post-crisis elders. The most recent example is Generation X. Heroes grow up as increasingly protected post-awakening children coming of age.
So this is, in some sense, the Zoomers, aren't you? So heroes essentially are the protected, sheltered ones.
Age as the heroic young team workers of a crisis. Heroes demonstrate hubris.
Oh no, this is millennials. This is the millennials, all right? So sheltered millennials, they grow up in a little bit of opulence because they come from the, what would you say? They're in the middle of this four-part cycle. Like they come from here, the middle part, the third way. They're in this third portion, the portion that says third, which is the second wave. So they're growing up with more material success. Whoops. So yeah, these are the millennials. Let's hear this again.
Heroes grow up as increasingly protected post-awakening children coming of age as the heroic young team workers of a crisis. Heroes demonstrate hubris as energetic midlifers and emerge as powerful elders attacked by the next awakening. The most recent example is the millennial generation.
But first, let me take a selfie.
Cringe.
Artists grow up as overprotected children during a crisis, come of age as the sensible young adults.
Artists, now this is the Zoomers, right? Now we're getting to them Zoomies.
Adults of a post-crisis world.
Get the fuck out of my room and play Minecraft!
Artists eventually break free as indecisive midlife leaders during an awakening and age into empathic post-awakening elders.
Damn. Empathic. So again, it's a little bit of a horoscope in the sense of each generation has, good qualities and in some sense bad qualities about them, but they're marked by these sort of general trends. Now, does this mean that everybody is going to fit into this paradigm? No, obviously, but this is just a general, in the same way that any generation is marked by certain features or qualities.
The most
Get on
recent
the
example
level.
is the Homelander generation. So what does all this say about our future? Well, in our paradigm, America has entered the fourth turning. What can we say about fourth turnings? We're here in 2016. Each turning lasts around 22 years, so this turning is going to last until about the year 2030. So we're not quite halfway through yet. Now, this is the winter of history. It's a time of creative destruction of public institutions.
Creative destruction of public institutions. Sound a bit like Doge to me.
We're going to radically change, ultimately, when we get out the other end of this thing, our politics, our economics, our sense of what we need in terms of public infrastructure around our lives. And very much of that is going to be shaped by the values and aspirations of the rising millennial generation. But what do we know of the morphology of these turnings? Well, it starts with the catalyst. And of course, the catalyst was, like 1929, it was 2008. A sudden...
Okay, so he marks the fourth turning as beginning in 2008 with the housing crisis. That's the catalyst that kicks off our fourth turning.
Shock to our system. Say, okay, we're in a new place now. You know, we're not in Kansas anymore. We have a whole new sense of where we need to go as a nation. We suddenly shocked out of our third turning individualism, celebrity circuses, and whatever we thought about back then. Things are going to be different now. Families are suddenly aware that they're not going to do as well as their parents. We're suddenly see that our role in the world maybe is not what we expected. Yep. That's the first thing. And that's already happened. The other three phases of the fourth turning haven't happened yet. One, which will soon happen, is what we call the regeneracy. This is when distrust reaches its low point.
Okay, regeneracy, I think, is what we're potentially in currently.
Suddenly begin to coalesce around something, some leader, some movement we began to feel positive about as a
okay, a little bit, what would you say, presumptive to suggest, at least visually, to throw Unism's hat in the ring. Now, historians will probably say we played the smallest role in this fourth turning, but hey, you got to dream big, right?
Fulcrum, as some point at which we can begin to find increasing trust in someone who can piece together institutions that can make sense again.
Piecing together institutions that can make sense. Again, essentially just reviving or, again, it's the winter of history metaphor where you have to take away all of the detritus, that is built up and shape something new that will last for the next 100 years. Damn, Rika High says, hey buddy, it's me again. You working on that Nick Land piece you promised? Damn you, Rika High. I will say this, I have downloaded some of his works. I couldn't find the one that you mentioned. Tell me again the one that you mentioned. Because Fanged Eunomia or whatever, that's his most popular work, I think. I think I got that one, but I think you mentioned another one. Just let me know. But I'll work on it. All right. I'll at least, if I don't make an audiobook, I'll at least make a little think piece video because I've got a new style that I'm going to be trying out for those. But let's wrap this up real quick.
And we will wait to see who that is. People sometimes ask me, is it Donald Trump? Is it the person who's going to follow Donald Trump? I mean, heck, you go onto London betting sites and there's a 50-50 chance they're saying that Donald Trump could be impeached or resign before 4 years are over. So it may be the replacement.
He was
I don't
impeached.
know. I can't. I don't make predictions that way. But I'm just telling you what it says about who it is. Extreme volatility in politics, which is a huge contrast between the lack of volatility right at the moment in financial markets. But that's what we're looking forward to.
Okay, but we're seeing some of that volatility in the markets as the political market, so to speak, has stabilized around a central figure of conservatism to some extent. We are seeing now that volatility in the market, bro. I've lost my shirt in the market lately. Not that I'm in it to any substantial degree, but what little I had ain't much anymore.
Dude, that's what's coming next. Additional shocks to our system, either in terms of economic, financial, or geopolitical shocks.
Based, yes. Arden Cobb says, Baron Trump atop a throne of skulls chanting, "In my father's name, in my father's name." Yes. I even said that, how do we know that that Trump, Donald Trump, isn't Baron Harkonnen from the Dune series, right? You even have, let me see if I can get a good illustration. You know, because again, he survived these assassination attempts. How do we know that he doesn't essentially achieve immortality? And, okay, so I'm not alone, right? Other people, make America Harkonnen again. Yes. Bro. See? But there's one GIF that I saw that is Harkonnen from the new Dune movie. Harkonnen, by the way, also the name of a hardcore band from Seattle, I think. Maybe I'll play one of their songs next time to kick off the stream, but there's one. Yes, this is it. This is Trump, bro. You can't tell me that's not Trump. Just bald and in some kind of mud bath. All right, let's continue.
Are on the table. This is what happens in a fourth turning, because at this moment of great vulnerability, we're going to hit further points at which we realize we are unprepared for the future. A lot of the assumptions we're making actually aren't going to pan out. We need to retool our institutions in a much more fundamental way than we've seen thus far. That's exactly what happened in the 1930s, where we kind of ratcheted down our expectations and retooled things in a bigger and bigger way than FDR ever thought going in 1932.
Right. Now, again, this is why it is compelling to some extent, is the comparison to the 30s. Rise of authoritarianism. I know the AI speeches of a certain Austrian painter are getting big, right? It's fascinating to see how these parallels emerge. Now, obviously, there's a, confirmation bias or a selective whatever. But even still, fascinating comparison, right? Again, we obviously are not seeing the same kind of hyperinflation that Germany post-World War I was. But still, like, again, we thought we would be facing that, ironically, right? If we weren't, running the money printer 24/7 or whatever it is, quantitative easing, I think they call it, which is just printing money. We absolutely would be in a crippling recession or inflationary recession, whatever it is, if it wasn't for the way we're just whipping that printer, boy. Woo!
Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh my God!
That he would ever have to do. That's where we're going to go. And that's going to lead to what we call the crisis. That's the third point in a fourth turning, when suddenly things get worse and worse, but we're beginning to match it with greater and greater civic effort.
Yes. Okay, so this is essentially, again, if all this has been compelling to you so far, this tells you what's around the corner, right? Perhaps market volatility, which we're already beginning to see. Crisis will hit. There will be some type of event. And again, this is more prognosticative, if I can say that. It's looking at the patterns of the past and just human behavior, sociology, and history in general, and making educated guesses about timelines that certain civic and political or economic forces essentially spurn certain behavior. Again, like you said, certain historical events shape generations, certain generations shape certain historical events. And this crisis is essentially what's on the table next. Damn it. I was going to ask, I probably should have mentioned this before. I can hear the rain on your end, and it's snowing here today. Northlander, bro, I wish I was out in the snow. Not with you, necessarily. I'm sure you're a good guy. Maybe we could be in the same city. But man, I miss the snow. We only get a little bit of snow out here in Tennessee.
Who can relate? Woo!
but I wish I had more of it. I'm actually, if anyone wants to join the Unism Discord, you can actually help me in my hunt to find a new place to live. I'm actually going to be hoping to move sometime this year. But, yeah, welcome, Northlander. Thanks for showing up, brother. Like the stream, you motherfucker. If you like snow, like the stream.
Oh my God!
Rebuilding our civic life to match greater and greater sense of crisis. Then we reach the crisis and pass it, and then that leaves the final act in a fourth turning, and that's what we call the resolution.
Resolution,
that's when
boys.
the treaties are signed, the negotiations are made.
Now, will this happen in Trump's term? This may be something that's reserved for J.D. Vance's term. Again, this is going to continue until 2030. The fourth turning is set, and probably until maybe 2031 or 2032, and maybe even a little bit longer, right? But that's essentially how things work. And again, if you are into sort of, I think it's what, Serbian, I don't want to say Serbian philosophy, but the Serbian sort of, I don't even know what you would say, cultural mind views history as a circle, right? There's definitely other ones. I don't know why I thought of Serbia. Maybe even, I don't know, other Eastern things mention that time is a circle, essentially. And what's also from True Detective, don't they say time is a flat circle? Whatever. But again, these cycles make sense, and there's something almost just poetically fitting to this. You know, again, the Greeks had the idea of the ages. And even in Christianity, you have the age and the age to come. You know. Bro, Northern got the wood stove burning. Yeah, boy. Have you heard of a prophet, Brandon Biggs? I'm going to be skeptical right off the bat, bro. I am going to tell you that. Skeptical. Brandon Biggs. He says that Trump will cause war and that in May, June, there will be money crisis. Is he Jewish? No. Or is he talking about Serbs? Cringe, bro. Get these Croats out of my server. Or what? Are you Bosniaks, bro? Get the fuck out.
Oh shit! Oh shit!
Bro. Serb till I die. Again, this is probably something I'll get into in another stream. But and people, again, I thought I was alone in being fascinated by the shit show that is former Yugoslavia or the Balkans. But a lot of people are. A lot of people know probably way more than I do about it. But the most fascinating thing about Serbia that I'll just say very quickly is they have a negative national myth. By which I mean the myth of the Serbian national identity is predicated on a battle that they lost. In the same way American independence is something that we generate a sense of self from nationally, and it would, you know, the American Revolution, our conquering of England.
Oh shit! Oh shit!
And the way that we beat King George. The Serbs actually have the Battle of Kosovo Polje, which is where Kosovo is, and it's too much to get into. But basically, I guess we get to talk about on the Hyper Cathedral channel. But the Battle of Kosovo Polje, the story is that the prince or whatever, Stefan, I think is his name. He basically gave up his earthly kingdom for a heavenly kingdom, and let the Ottoman Turks win the battle and enslave them for 300 years. Or 500 years? 800 years? I can't remember what it was. I think at least 500 years. But throughout that time, again, they understood that, hey, you know, store up your treasures in heaven. They basically got whipped in the battle, right? So they lost the battle. But the story that they told each other to justify it is he was presented with a divine imperative, which is keep your earthly kingdom, or do you want a heavenly kingdom? And he made that choice for the heavenly kingdom. Sorry for that digression, boys.
Oh my God!
Let's continue.
All of the civic cement, which was wet during the fourth turning, suddenly dries.
Yes. So this resolution phase, again, maybe at the end of 2030, 2031, but this may be under a Vance presidency or whoever, if it's not Vance. But if it's not Vance, again, if there's some chicanery happening, we definitely will see an extension on this third turning. Although it will perhaps happen there will be this resolution phase of the fourth turning. We'll perhaps see its manifestation in a social sense.
And then we suddenly have a post-crisis order, which hopefully would endure a beneficial and working post-crisis order that we hopefully will endure for the next 2 or 3 turnings after that, right? You see, that's how it worked. We came out of World War II, and this is just the most recent example with NATO, the UN, the World Bank, the IMF.
Right. So again, this resolution phase will see the starting of new institutions, just like after World War II, we saw again all these international governmental organizations. NATO, UN, World Bank, IMF, Bretton Woods. I've never heard of Bretton Woods, but whatever.
Bretton Woods, all these things which define the post-crisis world order. It didn't change very much for a long time. So public history moves very quickly toward the end of a fourth turning, the latter half of a fourth turning. That's what we're moving toward, and that's where we're going to go. The final point I want to make is this, is that people talk about fourth turnings, and I've been quoted in the media this way, that they're just bad, they're apocalyptic, they're horrible for all of us. And I just want to make the point that fourth turnings are actually necessary, just like winter is necessary. Winter kills everything off so that new things can grow. And just as forests need fires, rivers need floods, so does society need events which clean out the debris, which clean out everything that's sclerotic and ossified that no longer functions. Something which tilts the whole playing field of power and wealth from the old back to the young.
Okay, so that's essentially what we're seeing with DOGE, right? All of the career politicians, the political class that has been so entrenched and fattening themselves off our money, the Pelosi's, the freaking Newsoms. I know that's kind of localized to California, or, Pelosi is at the federal level, I think, right? She was the Speaker of the House. But anyways, these sort of legacy groups and families that have since dominated things. Tabula rasa, baby. Let's go. Wipe the slate and sort of just change things. Like, again, imagine what our world would be like if instead of importing illegally millions and millions of people, probably tens of millions over the decades, instead of importing all of those people, if we instead incentivized people to start families. And what if we even incentivized certain people to start families? But, which I mean, what if we just fostered a better communal environment, which, yeah, bro, Ghostal is already there. Jubilee, what a fascinating idea to wrap into the fourth turning. The year of Jubilee was something that they had in ancient Israel. Surprisingly, or perhaps not surprisingly, we don't necessarily have any evidence that they actually practiced this. Maybe one time, I think it's in Nehemiah or something, that they maybe practiced it. I'm not exactly sure. But we don't necessarily have a record that they practiced this for one reason or another. But they still codified it in their law, in the Torah, in the Old Testament, whatever, that every 50th year, land would revert to its owner or something, and all debts would be wiped out. All slaves would be freed, I think. And just sort of a reset. It's the grande reset, but a good one, right? Imagine if we had... we probably couldn't do it that same way. We would probably have to do it like a lottery, like anytime between 20 and 50 years, we will pick a number between 20 and 50, and that many years later, we'll reset, we'll cancel all the debts. Just as a way to, again, to... at least in your life, to actually, that's probably too quick, between 20 and 40. Because if it's 21, every 21 years. Well, I don't know how likely that'll happen. But anyways, something like the Jubilee would be amazing to implement to some extent, at least on the federal level. Like, if not for personal debts and everything, at least for federal debt or whatever. I don't know. A fascinating idea. But again, it just functions in this idea of renewal. Get rid of the old. A new start. Instead of just being crippled by, you know, essentially in some senses hundreds of years of accruing debt and interest. Damn. God damn. And by the way, I'm going to try to mute my mic when I'm not talking because, again, the rain is getting louder. I can tell myself. So let's wrap this up real quick.
This is what fourth turnings do. They renew us. Fourth turnings are the price we must pay for a new golden age. History has shown this time after time, and we're about to see it again in what I expect to be a really interesting and fascinating period in our history with which we can truly be all engaged.
Hey guys, this is Nick with the Sorry about that, guys. and I hear the thunder in the background. I don't think you guys can hear it, but what do you think about that? I was giving some kind of an outro there. We don't have to watch that, but good stuff, right? Good stuff. So, what is on the agenda next? We've already spent so much time going through that. I thought that was a 10-minute video. It's surely not going to take nearly an hour to do that. I would have been wrong. Let me see. What to do next? Let me show you this, actually. This is a funny video that I was that I was introduced to. I won't say how or what or why I was sent this. I think you guys will get a kick out of it. Oh, and our sponsor. Have I not gone to the sponsor? Actually, let me. You know, again, we gotta pay the bills over here. If you guys want to support, you can super chat. Thank you. I was muted. Am I still muted? No. But thank you, Northlander. You may be a few minutes behind. Yes, boys. What was I gonna say? Let me... Do I want to play this? I don't even know if I want to play this. Let me see if I can add this real quick. Oh, wait a minute. Do I have it? No. Oh, wait a minute. I can do this. Alright, guys. Now, I gotta say, don't take this seriously. I shouldn't say that. Absolutely take this seriously. This is one of our biggest sponsors. They do a lot for the show. Again, when they set this up, this was still the Nick Nilsson Slobknobcast. It no longer has that name. I've changed the domain. I've changed the branding significantly. Why can I not find this? Come on. Here we go. Okay. Hope this works. and I think you guys will enjoy it. So this is this is a sponsor of today's show. It'll sort of explain changing the name and branding, but you still Slobknob for super chats? Get the fuck out. This guy again? I don't even have time to get in it. I don't even have time to express my rage at Rusty. Damn you, Rusty. Alright, guys. Shout out to the sponsor. Click the links in the description. I'm not sure if there's a promo code we can use, but you guys will really enjoy this. Let me ensure. Ensure that this is not going to be... Okay. Yeah, that should be good. Alright, guys. Shout out to our sponsor of today's show. Not the Nick Nilsson Slobknobcast. It's just a Unism live stream. Let's go. Oh, what? Oh, shit. Could you guys hear that? Oh, fuck. I hope not. If you could, forget what you heard. Only listen to this. Let me mute myself real quick and then forget to unmute myself when I come back. Shout out to the sponsor of today's show.
Always wanted to have that passionate marriage. And whatever always wanted to have that passionate marriage. And whatever I did, whatever I tried, it didn't work. It just went downhill. On the contrary, we grew further and further apart. She was so busy with the kids, and I didn't get what I needed. I became so miserable, so miserable, that in the back of my mind I was thinking, how can I get out of this trap? How can I get that passion, that passion? I tried everything, buying CDs, programs, reading books, going to the most world-renowned marriage experts in the world. I did everything they suggested. I was so nice to her, so nice to her. How can I get out of this trap? And I tried so much. But it wasn't until I shifted my strategy and learned how to transform the most difficult time into the most exciting and joyful time without involving my wife, that I got my wife to be happy and passionate with me. And we have more and more joy daily without needing her to meet me halfway. Simply click the button below to join me in this free masterclass. Save your spot. If you're a husband looking for more happiness, more passion, more joy, and you're ready to do what it takes to create this in your marriage, if that's you, then you are in the right place. Everything changes when you learn how to pick the most difficult time in your marriage and how to make that the most joyful time. So click below to join me in this life-altering masterclass. See you in the inside. How can you get out of this trap? How can you get out of this trap?
fuck your bitch, you fat motherfucker. West side, bad boy killers. You know who the realest is, niggas. We bring it to you. First off, fuck your bitch in the clique you claim.
All right. Thank you to our sponsors. Free masterclass, guys. Let's see. What is next? Now, this was a video that I found. Somebody sent it to me, and they said, hey, is this video crazy? Is this video a little bit crazy? And I said, yeah, probably. I don't even know how to introduce this, and especially after our sponsor. This may cast the wrong impression. I don't agree with the things that this guy is saying. Obviously, the sponsor is amazing. We do support our sponsors. But this guy does not sponsor us. He's just a little bit of a kook. Let's just say that. He's a bit cooped up. So, I don't even know where to start with this guy. Actually, let me give you guys a little taste or a little hint of one of the people on this show that you'll be introduced to quickly. Let me just show you the website of this person. The Medical Rebel. Exit the Biomatrix. Vlad the Impaler didn't even start impaling people until his mid-30s. I guess that's just a meme, actually, they're sharing, so... what is this? We are improve your biofield. I think we can all get behind stop poisoning the children. That's not even too controversial. Parasite. Oh, they will get me. But what is this? The wellness blanket. Is this normal? Soviet cosmonauts. Okay, it says here, Soviet cosmonauts were healthier after being in spacesuits made with palladium fabric. Russian researchers have reproduced this effect in the wellness blanket. Is this like a weighted blanket thing? Don't they use weighted blankets for... I don't exactly know what. Let's see. Are we still on, actually? I should confirm. Yes. Technically, the stream is still live. Unless I mention... Well, there is one thing that I should mention. And people, again, this may be controversial, but I gotta say... Just kidding, guys. I hope that I executed that correctly. Let's check it out.
I've come back to that the ancient medicine is the way to go. That we are in the wrong paradigm about medicine, and I'm trying to simplify that. But to understand that, you got to have a worldview,
and you have to have a view of history, because if you
Okay, so it starts kind of solid, essentially. Oh, not solid, but we've got two figures here. Let me even sort of laser in on these two individuals. Is it helpful to give this background? Hold on. Let's look at this. Or I'll do that later, actually. Let's continue, or let's jump to the good parts. We're already in the midst of it. All right, here we go.
Schools and all of these others, I have this like osmotic understanding of analyzing movements of people and beings and so forth in a military sort of a fashion. So I see in the reports that you can extract from the Mahabharata, going all the way back through Japanese literature into European literature, the Codex Oralinda, all of these things are ancient records. I see a military campaign that came down to earth that all humans are now reacting to, because we don't have a clear understanding of what happened. And if you read it the way I do, admittedly, I could be fantastically wrong.
Who can relate? Woo!
Okay, at least when I look at it this particular way, it appears to be cohesive. And so it appears that they landed in Eurasia. There are some records.
I'm so sorry. Like, again, I know the rain is very audible, so I'm turning it down. But man, is that counterintuitive to hear this? So let's hear what this guy's understanding of world history is, based on what he understands as a sort of, defining event in human history.
Records in Sanskrit, there's some records in Pali, there's some records in Japanese, Tibetan, and Malay that suggest that they numbered almost 250,000 individuals, and that they came down and they conquered a vast quantity of humanity in about 20 minutes. And they spread out over a very large area of Eurasia, but basically settled in what we might think of as northern India, Kashmir, and so on.
And do you have any idea what the population of the Earth of humans were at that time? If 250,000 of them came down?
So if you're following along, 250,000 aliens came down and conquered Earth from India, Kashmir, northern India, Kashmir region, in 20 minutes. Citation, please. But look, again, the truth has to come out, guys. I'm not going to sit here and say and keep this man from speaking the truth. Let's continue.
Okay, so this is the problem. Humans and their mathematics, right? So I don't have any confidence in what I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
But in terms of my estimation, right? But I know that we numbered in the millions.
Okay.
Because of the serious level of language that was applied to what the people had to do. So some of these tribes, some of these places that wrote this stuff down would speak of the few that remained being outnumbered.
I forgot to mention this. At some point, and I probably should start doing this as well, they mute themselves and then just put the text on the screen, because obviously, whatever. But so you can now read what the text at the bottom says when they mute themselves.
By 100 days of burying. That's how. So they had to just bury people for 100 days, right? Those that remained, that kind of thing. So we're talking about a pretty big slaughter. There's really gruesome aspects of this. Okay. And this is where we have to get into, put on our adult hats and stuff. These were not people that were coming down to conquer us for our own good and teach us and all of that kind of stuff, right? When they slaughtered, they would do a particular kind of a ritual in which the belly fat of women and children was removed, along with the internal organs around the pancreas and the adrenal complex. These were then converted by burning into a fume that these beings inhaled, and it got them high. I kid you not. Okay, this is
proto-adrenochrome.
Correct. It is related to oxidized adrenaline. Okay.
What?
Oh my gosh.
Okay, and if you actually go and read the Naked Bible with Mauro Linguino, he will, in that book, he describes the actual translation of the Old Testament, in which there's not 10 commandments, but there are hundreds of commandments, the vast majority of which go to how you are to prepare the fat of the enemy to be burned in the burnt offering, such that the Elohim can come on in and huff it.
Oh my God! So is that the basis of all this burnt offering to God kind of thing in the Old Testament?
What? Oh, you're gonna be shocked if you haven't read the Naked Bible by Mauro Biglino. Read it, and he's got a YouTube channel, and you can go and talk to him. He actually describes the 20 types of flying machines that are. There's so many words in the Bible that are not translatable. And for instance, there's nowhere in the Old Testament.
All right, pause here for a second, boys. I hope I'm coming through. Yes. What? Ay, 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 ay. Spicy, spicy. Bold claims.
Who can relate?
Some would say a little bit too bold. The 20 different kinds of spaceships. Now, again, I can say that there are... Here's a little tidbit for you boys. There is at least one word that I know of that we don't... I think... Or one that I know for sure is not translated. That we don't know exactly what it was. But it's not necessarily consequential to... It's not exactly consequential to the text itself, or to, you know, any theological matters. Essentially, in the story of Noah, when it says, build the boat out of gopher wood, right? That's the word that shows up in English Bibles and also shows up in, is actually a word, you know, gopher wood is not a thing. We don't have gopher trees. Gopher wood is just what it's called because apparently the Hebrew is gopher, right? It's the Hebrew G, Hebrew F or something, and Hebrew R. So that's the Hebrew vowelless acronym word. And since we don't know what it is, we essentially just say gopher wood. And then that comes across as gopher wood. But the idea that we don't understand the majority of the Bible, and that there's 20 different kinds of spaceships and 100 commandments that all have to do with sacrificing the belly fat to catalyze adrenochrome. Bro, this is not a side of YouTube that I particularly like to associate with. It's wild. But maybe you guys have come across this kind of stuff. I just thought, again, it's wild to see people talk about things in this way. With hopefully... in some sense, you would think or I'll just presume that it's some kind of good intentions, right? If we go back to this electro blanket thing, whoops. This website, a lot of their concerns about certain vaxes and I guess, you know, just health or medical industrial complex, you understand their concerns, but the fact that it results in this,
Oh my God!
no. I just gotta say, press X to doubt. Damn, boys, there's so much we could cover, but I guess I should finally get to the piece de resistance. Yeah, Dostoyevsky. Okay, so this was the plan at least. The last minute plan was, I want to talk about the Grand Inquisitor. If you guys, even if you haven't read the Brothers Karamozov or, you know, other Dostoevsky books, Crime and Punishment is good. Also, what's the one with The Idiot. The Idiot is a very interesting book, which is about essentially a Christ-like figure who ends up in modern Russia. And he's epileptic, and he's very strange, but he says that he speaks honestly, and people are endeared to him, and he goes on some kind of adventure. But it's called The Idiot, right? But it's very interesting. But even if you haven't read any Dostoyevsky, there's a lot of very interesting, or there's one of his most famous excerpts, because again, Crime and Punishment is his most famous novel, but even more famous, I would say, than that is The Grand Inquisitor. Let's see if I can pull this up. Okay, so The Grand Inquisitor, oh, no, this is this. All right. This is an excerpt within a chapter, and it's basically the Brothers Karamozov. I think it's Alyosha, and then the other guy. Who's the other guy? Yeah, Alyosha, and oh, it's told by Ivan with brief interruptions by Alyosha. Alyosha is the youngest brother, if I remember correctly, and Ivan is the one who's kind of lost his faith, I believe. So he's telling the story to his brother, and it essentially crystallizes so many ideas that people have about what it means to be free, or what are our chances when faced with the specter of freedom through Christ. I don't know if I can really even do it justice in this with the rain going on, and with maybe it's better saved for the Hyper Cathedral channel. I'm not exactly sure, but essentially it deals with issues of freedom versus security. Like what will you give up your freedoms to have? And one of the points that he makes in the work is essentially that if you give people bread, they won't want their freedoms. Maybe there's some quotes that I can read from here. Well, let me pull up the PDF document right here. That was at least what I wanted to talk about with Dostoyevsky, but depending on if there's any interest in that, maybe I'm just trying to look smart and put on philosophical airs. Maybe nobody wants to hear about this, in which case we can talk about a certain conspiracy that I will debunk today. Let me see. I should have set this up a little bit better. Let me know in the chat. Yeah, Notes from the Underground. Ken knows what's up. Yeah, Notes from the Underground is another really good one. Sort of a collection of shorter stories. Was it like this? One of them is The Skeleton or something. Is that right? I haven't read Notes in the Underground for in many, many years. I support eliminating adipose tissue. Oh, you do support. Okay. All right. We got one here. Ken Wood says, I support eliminating adipose tissue for adrenochromatic excellence. Get them gains, boy. You gotta get them gains. Whatever helps, bro. Yeah, Notes from the Underground is another one. Yeah, so we could even... Actually, I don't have the PDF right here. We could, though, watch... I do have something queued up here, which is the John Gielgud, which is like a Shakespeare guy, I think. Let me see if this is coming through. Okay, so this is a
the Grand Inquisitor has become aware of an enemy.
But this is too long for us to go into, and I'm not even sure how well abridged it is. Well, let me see if I can focus on some good parts that sort of get to the central conceit of the piece. Okay, so I'll even just lay out what it is. So the Grand Inquisitor, it's a during the Spanish Inquisition, they had, you know, nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. You guys seen that meme? Monty Python. Yeah, these guys.
No, Mr. Wentworth just told me to come in here and say that there was trouble at the mill, that's all. I didn't expect a kind of Spanish Inquisition.
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. Our chief weapon is surprise. Surprise and fear. Fear and surprise. Our two weapons are fear and surprise and ruthless efficiency. Our three weapons are fear and surprise and ruthless efficiency and an almost fanatical devotion to the Pope. Our four, no. Amongst our weapons.
All right. I don't know. Like, again, it was a different time. People had different sensibilities. I think it's funny, or it's at least interesting for a comedic premise. But the idea in this work is essentially that a Spanish inquisitor, the Le Grand Inquisitor, some might say, actually has before him in his possession Christ himself. So he's torturing Christ. Now, Christ, obviously, who has returned to earth. So what a fascinating setup, essentially, is that Christ has returned and he's been imprisoned and tortured by the church itself. The body of Christ, which is the church, has captured and tortured the body of Christ in his return. Let's see. It's a long... All right, I'll read here from the wiki real quick. I never wanted to be a channel that just reads from the Wikipedia, but it may help me a little bit here as I struggle through this. In a long diatribe directed at Jesus himself, who has returned to earth, Seville at the height of the Inquisition, the Grand Inquisitor defends the following ideas. Only the principles of the devil can lead to mankind's unification. Give man bread, control his conscience, and rule the world. That's a conspiracy in and of itself, my guys. Jesus limited himself to a small group of chosen ones, while the Catholic Church improved on the work and addresses all people. The Church rules the world in the name of God, but with the devil's principles. Jesus was mistaken in holding man in high esteem. And the Inquisitor, in turn, just says, like, man is a lowly, servile creature and stuff like that. So Jesus remains silent throughout the Inquisitor's speech. So you'll see that in this clip. I guess without further ado, I can play a little bit of it here. Let me skip to a little bit ahead.
Little secret of human nature, and yet you refused to accept what was offered you. The one absolute emblem of your power. This would have forced everybody to acknowledge you as the one indisputable object of worship. But in the name of freedom and heavenly bread, you rejected it. Now look what else you did. And still in the name of freedom, instead of taking possession of man's freedom, you made it even greater. Instead of giving him something that would have set his conscience at rest, you offered him everything that is unusual, indefinite, and enigmatic. Everything that is beyond his strength. Just as if you didn't love him at all.
what he's saying here is essentially that the point that we're faced with when confronted with essentially the liberational theology of Christianity is a burden that the later existentialists would talk about, like Sartre and Camus and stuff, right? The you're damned to be, essentially. It's related in some extent. Oh, let's continue a little bit more. Maybe I'll have a little bit more to say.
You who came to give your life for him. You longed for man to follow you freely, to decide for himself what is good and what is evil, with only your image before him for guidance. But although there is nothing so seductive to man as freedom of conscience, there is also nothing more agonizing. Surely it must have occurred to you that in the end he would reject your image and dispute your truth, since you had left him so tormented and confused. It was you yourself who planted the seeds of the destruction of your own kingdom. Don't blame anyone else for it. There are three forces, three unique forces, able to conquer and hold captive forever the conscience of rebellious mankind: authority, miracle, mystery. You rejected all three.
So in what sense does Christ reject miracles, authority, and mystery? In some sense, by revealing himself to be who he is, and the authority in that, to some extent at least, he didn't come to lead a political revolution. He was the suffering servant, who didn't lead the Jews conceive of the Messiah as someone who will bring political revolution in many regards. And some say, to some extent, that's part of the crime that Christ was charged with, at least, or not specifically. It was a religious crime that he was charged with. But they meant to cast him as sort of a revolutionary in some part.
When the wise and terrible spirit placed you on the pinnacle of the temple and said to you, "If you're the Son of God, cast yourself down, for it is said of him, the angels will catch him and bear him up, and he will not fall," you listened and would not throw yourself down. Oh, of course, in that you acted proudly and magnificently, like a god. But this weak and rebellious race of men, are they gods? How could you possibly suppose that man would be strong enough to reject a miracle? And at the times of his most fearful and basic spiritual questionings, find himself left alone, with nothing but a free decision of the heart. Certainly, you knew that your action would be preserved in the books, would reach to the end of time. You hoped that man would remain with God, not needing miracles. But don't you know that the moment man rejects a miracle, he rejects God too? For it is not so much God that man seeks, but miracles. And since he is not able to exist without them, he will even create them for himself. Why, you would not even come down from the cross when they mocked at you, saying, "Come down if you're the Son of God, and we'll believe in you." No, you long for man's freely given love. You refused to enslave him with a miracle.
Refused to enslave him with a miracle. So what is he putting forth here? Essentially that, you'll hear this from atheists as well, like, why didn't Jesus come in 2003, right? When we all had or even, 2013, when we all had iPhones and security surveillance. We could easily establish that he was who he said he was and do a miracle then. I know it's obviously 2,000 years too late for the perfect fullness of time, that Paul talks about in Galatians. But again, why, if God is really all powerful, why can't he do this? Or if he, I think another part in this, if it's not in this chapter, it's in another chapter in Brothers Karamozov, where he talks about one of the disaffected brothers. I think it's Ivan, or maybe another, but he says, God cannot exist because of all the suffering, all the children that are suffering. Either he's not, and this is a standard Reddit kind of fedora tip moment, but either God can't stop it, in which case he's not all powerful, or he can stop it and he doesn't, in which case he is immoral. But in this instance, he's saying, why not just do a miracle that then it could be without a doubt. And obviously the implicit, or not implicit, what would you say, the consequential part of this is, no matter what, there will always be those who do not believe. Well, they say, and again, even today, like again, I hope I'm not offending anyone here, but the flat earth, people that are flat earthers, right? No matter what evidence they're shown. Recently, actually, a few prominent people in the flat Earth community went to the South Pole or North Pole or something. They went to Antarctica, whichever one that is.
Who can relate?
Woo! And they because apparently flat Earthers have a conception of the world. The sun has to work a certain way, and obviously the sun would set if the Earth was flat and the sun just moved around it. You would not have the sort of 24-hour sun that you have in the northern, in the Arctic Circle or whatever. I don't know exactly what it was precisely, but that's about the gist of it in my hazy recollection. And they were like, "Hey guys, we were wrong. Our models just must not account for this. We're going to have to improve our models." Now, obviously, the round earthers know, like, yeah, they're showing the guys the truth, and yet they still cling on to their flat earth model and just say, look, we've got to improve this somehow. But by doing this, they were essentially ostracized or excommunicated from the flat earth community that they were otherwise I don't want to say leaders of, but they were prominent minor celebrities in. People said, oh, you're compromised. You guys were shown an elaborate light show. It was all digital effects. Like, how could you be so stupid to be fooled into this? And they rejected even the little bit of evidence that these individuals were exposed to in the Arctic Circle or Antarctica or wherever they were. But you get my meaning, which is the miracles will convince people. That seems very persuasive, and yet there will always be those who in their heart of hearts hold on to doubt with both hands, clutching desperately at, how would you say, just refusing to let go in some sense of the ego and to rely on the things that perhaps only the Spirit can speak to. Now, I'm not one of those I'm not convinced, I would say, by what some presume to be the lack of evidence. There's actually a really good video that I'll be going over tomorrow on the Sunday stream on the Hyper Cathedral channel. That I'll share a link for, but you guys won't want to miss out that, where it's proven that essentially so many people say, like, oh, I won't even get into it. We'll save that for tomorrow, but let's continue with this Grand Inquisitor.
You judged men too highly. Of course, they must always be captives, even though they were created rebels. You would have shown your love for them better if you had demanded less of them, for then their burden would have been lighter.
You would have shown your love for them if you would have demanded even less of them. Arturo, yeah, bro, I'm doing good. Bread, thankfully I am able to support myself at this point. You can support the show. You can sponsor the Nick Nilsson show live stream, not the Slobknobcast. But otherwise, super chats are not working today. But you can super chat us in the future. Every little bit helps, and thank you guys for supporting the show. But yeah, doing fine, bro. And again, I am hoping to move. It's springtime here, or the spring rain is happening, and I already can sense the heat of the summer coming. It creeps up on the back of my neck, and man, the humidity out here. I've suffered under it for 4 years. In the first 2 years, the first, I guess, 2.5 years. Yeah, the first 2.5 years, 0 electricity, 0 power, essentially. Had a generator that I could use on rare occasions, but no reliable power or air conditioning. It's unreasonable. Iso Wish says, I think that in this world you can never be certain. So good. Let me see. So God can judge our soul, not just our mind. I think in this world you can never be certain. So certain of either God's existence or of the state of your own soul. So God can judge our soul, not just our mind. Both, absolutely, God will judge us. Judge us by our mind. Again, in some sense, we should always be keeping our thoughts pure. But the idea that, our soul will be judged. And I think we're in agreement. Maybe I'm just looking at this wrong or reading it with the wrong reference point. Let's continue. Or do you guys want to continue? Is there? Because again, we can move on to the pizza guy conspiracy. I will debunk. Yeah, we might as well. I'll just say, if you want to hear more about this Grand Inquisitor, leave a comment if you're watching the replay. Or otherwise join me on the Sunday stream. I will be doing a regular weekly church service, essentially. Digital church in the Hyper Cathedral. I hope you guys will enjoy. It'll be a little bit different. And I hope a fruitful time. Where 2 or more are gathered in my name, there I will be among them. Let me set up for this. Let me set up for doing our final item before I end the stream. Okay, guys. And again, maybe the rain is too loud. Again, I guess you guys can hear it. Let me know, though, if it's loud enough to be an issue. Like, again, if if the rain is so loud it's annoying, and maybe I'll just sort of end it here, because I've already gone as maybe as long as I need to. Yeah, let me know if the audio is okay, or at least is listenable. And then I'll at least start by saying this. by showing this. Let me see.
Video I've done to date. This deals with a topic that is one of the most polarizing and controversial in recent memory, and in my opinion not only has some of the most misinformation and disinformation surrounding it, but also a non-trivial amount of hard evidence. I'm talking, of course, about the question of what was the deal with Washington, D.C.'s most infamous restaurant, aka damn it, okay, Triangular Handheld Food Gate.
Onigiri Gate. Triangle Gate?
What we're going to be doing is breaking down some of the stuff that's known for certain, in a way that avoids speculation. This is not only for the sake of trying to avoid defamation lawsuits, but also just general self-preservation. Speaking of self-preservation, I've been spending a lot of time at the range. In fact, I wanted to do this video earlier, but I wanted to wait until I had a CCW. I can sense the trepidation in the room. Everyone just got a bit uneasy feeling. Huh. Why is that? Well, for many of the people watching this, you're probably thinking of QAnon. QAnon is the movement with which all of you are probably aware. PizzaGate, on the other hand, was a scandal that broke several months prior following a series of high-profile email leaks. Now, whether this was intentional or not, QAnon did a very good job of incorporating the themes and elements of the earlier scandal and adding an additional, 300% of lurid, easily disproven nonsense. So this had the effect of discrediting all the claims made, even the ones for which there was strong evidence, simply by adding in easily debunked evidence to use as talking points in citations and articles by places like my favorite website, Wikipedia.
Yes, if you ask the unbiased folks at Wikipedia, and I don't know if you guys know this, actually one of the founders of Wikipedia has recently become a Christian and has said, since at least a decade ago, no, maybe even, I want to say 15 years ago, maybe by this point, or longer, 20 years ago, even, Wikipedia has just gone incredibly downhill, that the bias is clear, that it's part of how they structure things. Well, we don't have to get too much into that, but let's start by taking a look. Wow, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Let's get to the...
Or, I guess, to use an analogy, imagine you're at a house party. You see someone spike a girl's drink. You confront him and leave to go warn the girl and tell the host. But before you do, the creepy guy starts loudly telling everyone, hey, there's some dude here having some kind of mental episode. He's going around telling people, and shooting people with a BB gun, and smearing shit on the walls, roofing people's drinks. I'm stabbing people with forks, saying the N-word. Can we please get this guy out of here? Yeah, dude, the guy's tripping or something.
What a fitting metaphor. Again, it really is, and we'll see, or I'll hope to, I don't want to say demonstrate, but at least hope to suggest that I recently understood that this was much more, how do we say, orchestrated than I had ever assumed. We'll get into exactly how and what, or he'll lay it out. This guy, again, most people are aware of this. Anyone who's, again, this channel gets no views. This guy gets a lot of views. 1/3 subscribers. Flesh Simulator is the channel. So go check him out. Let me mute myself again for the rain.
The other reason is that this is a topic that people think of as a dangerous conspiracy theory, one that has the ability to get its hooks into people to such a degree that it pushes them into mental instability, as evidenced by the tragic mass shooting the narrative inspired. Now, see, most of you accepted that sentence at face value, because that's the tone it was invariably described by news outlets at the time, and since. But what's interesting is that, well, nobody got shot. Yeah, according to accounts of the event from both police and people present, the perpetrator, Edgar Welch, walked into the restaurant around 3 p.m. carrying a rifle, told everyone in there not to worry, they weren't in danger, but they had to leave. He then spent about an hour searching the restaurant looking for the kids. Obviously, none were found. But then, how was that a shooting? Well, technically, a shot was fired. At one point during the search, Welch came across a suspiciously locked door, and to open it, he shot the lock with his rifle. So yeah, one shot at a lock, in the middle of an empty restaurant. Upon finding nothing, he put down the rifle inside, proceeded to leave the restaurant unarmed, laid down in the road with his hands behind his head, and waited for the cops to come arrest him. He complied peacefully. However, let's take a look at the security camera footage. Oh, damn, that's weird. All the security cameras were turned around backwards to face the wall. Just for that day. That's a shame. On the one day you'd least want that to happen. Well, what about the lock? Where did that door lead? Well, as it turned out, nowhere interesting. It turned out to be a normal utility closet being used as the restaurant server room. Was there any damage? Well, the only damage from the round fired was to the server, as it was shot directly through the hard drive platter.
Wait, why would a restaurant need to have that?
Okay, wait a second. Wasn't this thoroughly debunked? Because every time I've heard about this, it's in the phrase, the thoroughly debunked conspiracy theory. Well, it's not thoroughly debunked. It's extensively debunked. What's the difference? Well, if someone was claiming that I'm a 55-year-old ex-con and secretly Chinese and that they once saw me accidentally take a swig out of a Gatorade bottle full of photo developer that I had sitting directly next to a bottle of Gatorade I was drinking, I could extensively debunk their claims, but not thoroughly.
Because you only have documentation disproving the first three claims, right? Not because you drank photo developer.
Who can relate?
Not because you drank photo developer, right?
So, what was debunked? Well, mainly the stuff that immediately comes to mind. Stuff along the lines of a certain former First Lady eating the children in the restaurant.
Rosalind Carter.
Okay, Rosalind Carter, he says. And that's the thing that I was never on board with this stuff. Again, we mentioned this, and again, I'm probably going to get banned or blacklisted just for saying these words, but we said earlier, adrenochrome. Like, again, none of that has to be true. I'm not saying it's impossible. I don't want to say weirder things have happened. Again, that's pretty much the peak of weird. But, you know, again, but just that everybody, again, it's a degree of fantasizing, like, your enemies take on the ultimate evil, right? It's not just that they're doing the worst thing imaginable to children, they're also doing it for some kind of, you know, and again, the breadcrumbs that people were snorting of this were Maria Abramovich, what else? I think that's the most of it. The Podesta's relation to Maria Abramovich, and she actually has like I don't want to defend her obviously, but she has like a legitimate career as a performance artist. So I'm not saying that it's impossible that she's into weirdo, cringe ritual stuff or like dangerous ritual stuff, but the idea that, I don't know, like, again, maybe I'm naive, let me know, but it's not necessary. And it's also just heartbreaking. I have a video that I don't want to play that goes into some of the key players about this, but the biggest ones in my mind, Podesta and anybody that he was emailing, and then also the James Alefantis. And he's going to go into, he even talks about the name. Maybe I have to just get through this video before I go into, you know, the stuff that I can debunk as well. But let's continue.
Or the idea that there was a secret basement where they stored the kids for nefarious purposes.
Yeah, and exactly. Like, why did people think that? I know, because on James Alefantis' Instagram, he posts maybe I can't show it. Okay, this is should I show it? Bro, this is gonna get me killed. Not killed, but this is gonna get the channel killed almost for sure. Oh, fuck, should I? I think this is important. Again, this is vile. This is vile, the most vile stuff. But you have to see what people are talking about. Why would they jump to the conclusions about adrenochrome and spirit cooking, and why do they think Hillary Clinton eats faces and things like that? It's part and parcel of the close ties to this guy, James Alefantis, who is posting things like this. Now, this is actually a phone call, and I hate to show this. Just content warning for anybody who is sensitive to these things. I can barely watch it myself. But this is all it's going to show, and there's going to be audio from a phone call of people essentially, I think, either showing up to the pizza place or calling it and kind of harassing this guy. This PDF, essentially. And these are the things that, not all of them were on his Instagram, the majority are, but the first few ones are ones that he's either commented on or liked and it paints the picture beautifully. So again, anyone who thinks that I'm out of bounds, if you're not familiar with this, with the lore, learn the lore, buddy, on this. But this is, it's unbelievable. Let's see. Oh, and you can see all the riff tracks I was watching. All right. So these are these are also pictures that people post geotagging Comet Ping Pong, right? So already we're getting disgusting. So I'll play this and kind of obscure it a little bit.
That image is a cute image of my goddaughter. Taped to the table. They're playing around as two kids.
I came all the way from Philadelphia to be here, man.
Children
I didn't know. I came all the way from Philadelphia to be here.
Do you have any other images that you think are
I used to work at a school because my mother did this. David Fry.
We have hundreds of children here all the time.
I know.
I love children. I love you. We love our community.
That's fine.
We're all friends.
And
we work together.
Okay, so the previous one was Maria Abramovich. So again, there are connections to her. But this is what Jimmy Comet, this is the guy. So he says, ready for London. Some kind of pills and a bunch of money. Okay? Pills and bills. So jealous, so come meet. Ping pong, and so this is what they say. The last comment on this says, ping pong in London sounds tempting. But why do you need so much money and medications to play ping pong? Okay, that's a bit of a stretch even. That's not conclusive evidence. I wouldn't damn him on this alone. Let's continue watching. Not his children, by the way. He has no children. So let's just continue. All of these kids are not, none of them are his own children or even family members. And I guess maybe I should say this from, maybe I'll save more of this for later, right? No, that's not working. Let's watch a little bit more of Flesh Simulators.
You see, stuff in that vein has been categorically debunked. No basement in the building. No evidence of freak shows of murder and debauchery occurring on the premises. That's kind of all made up. Like, regarding the basement specifically, before a bunch of people come in here and correct me, yes, there was a basement in the restaurant next door, Buck's Fishing and Camping, also opened by the same guy who started Comet Ping Pong, who we will discuss shortly. This restaurant does have a basement. This was the basement mentioned in a 2009 interview by the owner of Comet, talking about bringing up pizza sauce from the basement. For the record, though, I think he was literally just talking about pizza sauce, not like blended up children, as he was talking to a food magazine. More critically, though, this single-minded obsession with the basement completely screwed over this cause, because now people can just go, no basement, no basement, no basement, no basement, and shut down your argument whenever anyone goes and looks, because there is indeed no basement. So, why do we care? What wasn't debunked? Well, there's a lot of stuff that's very suspicious, but is either the sort of thing that would fall under the category of circumstantial evidence, or be it inadmissible as evidence at all, or in many cases would potentially be considered slander. So we're just going to be making no accusations, just impartially reporting facts here. The restaurant is owned by a man named James Alefantis. Little is known about his background, but it is possible that due to the lack of appearances in public records, he is using a pseudonym. By coincidence, the way to say I love children in French is j'aime les enfants. He was voted one of the 50 most powerful people in D.C. This is kind of odd, given that, he owns a small to medium-sized restaurant, and D.C. is full of, senators and shit. According to property records, the buildings for Comet Ping Pong and Buck's Fishing and Camping are owned by the same holding company that owns the building next door, occupied at the time by another pizza place, Besta Pizza.
So pausing more so just to add a little bit of commentary here. Yeah, strange to open or he'll mention this, I think. Even he says this. Strange to open a competing pizza place right next to yours. So again, none of this in and of itself is necessarily damning, but let's listen on. Again, if you're unaccustomed to this, maybe you're not sold on this yet. But let's continue.
It is kind of weird for any entity to own a restaurant and then place a competing restaurant right next to it. It is weirder when the logos for both restaurants are dead ringers for something else. It's weird that the CCTV cameras mysteriously got turned around backwards to face the wall behind them on the exact day that someone stormed the restaurant with a gun. It is weirder when the man who did said shooting turns out to have been an out-of-work actor with a prior conviction for a DUI, who immediately prior to the shooting was in a late-night car accident where he hit a pedestrian. I'm not going to get into the emails because that is a whole other can of worms, but needless.
Now, I don't know if he's referring to the WikiLeaks emails. Like, again, that's how I was familiar with this. Again, I heard a bunch of crazy stuff about this story when this was happening in 2016 or 2015, I think. When was it? Maybe it was 2016. But the Podesta email, we can get a little bit into that. I'll try to get through this as quick as I can. Let's do this. We'll look at the Instagram, or just a few, some of them. Because, again, you can actually get archives of the full Instagram uploads, and they're harrowing. I don't want to be anywhere near that stuff. So even just for the thing, but this was collated into a YouTube video. I had a cup of coffee here. Hold on. This was collated into a YouTube video, so I mean that I think has a little bit of explanation to it.
Needless to say, it is unusual for a notable political figure to request to rent a pizza for an hour.
Okay, yeah, so that is referring to the Podesta emails.
The news response to this controversy is where I want to leave off, because I think it's important to understand why this was such a polarizing event for so many people. The media response to this was resolute and unified. Not real, not real, not real, not real, not real, not real. It's been debunked, it's been debunked, it's been debunked. And then after someone shot a hard drive, dangerous fringe conspiracy theory, dangerous fringe conspiracy theory. One of the only people in the media who did any investigation whatsoever was a local news anchor in Georgia named Ben Swan. He looked into it and did a short segment in 2018 going over some of the same things I did, and was immediately unceremoniously fired for doing so. But there are 3 other journalists I'd like to bring up. 3 of the most hardline debunkers of the theory, at least one of whom with personal ties to accused members of the political establishment. Slade Somer.
He basically just clarifies that Somer wasn't the guy or something. What does he say exactly? He says, they deny any validity to the claims made by proponents of the theory, but by all measures appear to have a personal connection to one of the most egregiously implicated politicians, according to the email leaks. He does not appear to have any so he works, this guy Somer works for a company, or works for a publication that has written things, but he himself hasn't written them. I think that's basically what this disclaimer says.
James Meek and Darren Bell have since been arrested. Arrested for what? Okay, well, so you know the band Lost Prophets? That. If you don't know the band Lost Prophets, you know the singer Gary Glitter? That. Okay, so the official takeaway of my opinion on this? Nothing. I have no opinion. I'm not sharing any opinion. I've done nothing but collate freely available factual info. If this is my last video, hey, I guess it was all true. So, to the powers that be, the best way to discredit this video is actually to give it a huge algo boost. Give it the Mr. Beast treatment.
Alright, so that kind of lays out. Now let's finish looking at what really got people so fired up at when they actually saw this guy's Instagram. They said, okay, and I want to also bring up another thing that was happening at this time that nobody doubted or, well, actually there are some suspicious things, not about, actually maybe it is more suspicious than I thought, but it was a real thing that was happening essentially, which was YouTube comments. Before they had YouTube Kids, there was no YouTube Kids. It was basically anybody would, you know, people of any ages. Obviously, you had to be 13 years or older to use YouTube for whatever, for terms of service. But perverts were commenting on beauty pageants and just archival footage or just baby pictures and stuff, and we're linking them to other people. So, you know, you upload a video of camcorder video of you when you were a baby or something, maybe in a bath or something, and suddenly it gets 40,000 views or something, and people are like, oh my gosh, I need this or something. They're just leaving the most disgusting comments underneath. That caused YouTube to essentially have a reckoning. They called it the adpocalypse. And there were a few other things. Elsagate was kind of related to this, but it was because of the first adpocalypse that people realized, like, oh my gosh, these people are loud and proud on social media. So now, I think fast forward, because I think the adpocalypse happened a little before this. Maybe it was 2014 or so. I might be wrong about that, but now they discovered this guy, Jimmy Comet, who has this very sus pseudonym, and look at the kind of stuff that he is that he posts. Disgusting stuff, guys. It really does turn my stomach. Let's go.
I wouldn't be caught dead with pictures of cops and chewing on stacks of money. I wouldn't be caught dead with half of those images on Instagram.
Because there's nothing wrong. Have you been on Instagram? There are much more offensive things. There's nothing offensive about my. There's nothing offensive about my Instagram.
If you don't see the offensiveness in that, then it's cool.
I don't see an offensive.
That's
I
cool.
think that's kids playing together, and I think it's very sick and strange.
Oh, I know.
People make a
Oh yeah, we always tape children. Yeah, yeah. We always tape.
And I don't even want to go into the meaning of this. Coincidentally, and I will say this is a coincidence, at the previous Halloween, let me see if I can pull this up too. At the previous Halloween thing at the White House, the Bidens, Joe Biden, check this out. Before we go back to this and finish up with the disgusting stuff, check this out. Joe Biden, and so the name of this is Joe Biden bites 3 babies in bizarre footage at White House Halloween party as wife dons panda suit. Again, we know Biden is, well, he's definitely compromised, but we all do know he has some wandering hands, let's say, in the very least. Oh, shoot. Come on. Sorry, guys, my system is lagging a little bit. Oh, come on. Here we go. Yeah, so, again, just weirdo stuff. Nobody should be doing this. Look at that. Again, look, I'll even say this. That's your baby, totally fine. That's your brother's child, that's, it's in the immediate family, totally... that's just being playful with a child. Doing that to a stranger's baby, but again, this is not conclusive. This is just more weirdness, right? I don't even necessarily want to be. I'm not even necessarily alleging that Biden is a part of this, but strange coincidence, like I introduced it as. Now let's get back to. And this is the man himself, right? And he says, okay, so if someone comments on it, so adorable. And then he says, James, so he says James's. Oh, okay, so again, yeah, he says James, his own name, with the possessive apostrophe. So this is James's. And then his next comment is, that little baby loved the farm. Cutie pie, says someone else. Again, it's under the radar, but let's continue. Okay, yeah, even this. So again, the symbology here is too grotesque for words. But someone cum panda is what he says here for the caption. And more.
at the pizzeria is
Okay, so this obviously is meant to be humorous, right? You see this doll, and the sign says German baby, 12,000, please do not touch. Jimmy comments caption, way too overpriced. Or way overpriced. And someone says creepy. You know, maybe it's not their style. Maybe they like a different kind of, you know, it's not their type. Spotted at Linda Tripp's Christmas shop, says someone else. So weird. Sort of looks like a baby Linda Tripp. Now that's funny. I don't know what this is exactly. Monogrammed something.
cheese hot dogs. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh,
I could care less about my beauty. I just want my pizza. So again, why would this? And I'll go into this in a moment. Well, what was that one?
cheese hot dogs. Cheese hot dogs. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, I know it is. Anyway, listen.
I almost Instagrammed your picture. Glad you did. Okay, so Mr. Scott Cummings also was about to post this or something.
I respect your idea to protest. You stay all day. If you'd like some coffee, if you'd like some pie.
We'll just kind of go rapid fire through the rest of these. Okay, so this is why people were getting a little bit concerned, right? And even the comments, the Instagram comments say, burying a body? No underpinning, please. You show me yours. You show me yours. Mine has been filled in for quite some time now. Can we do a pop-up in there? Please, this hole needs a pop-up. Line up now. Teacher/student.
We can be happy to serve you. Stay out here.
Holiday joy. So again, facetious or whatever. It says, wait, where is that? And someone else says overtime. So again, cryptic, creepy, weird stuff. You would think that this would all be innocuous, but I have a crescendo to end on, and then we'll close out the stream. Again, and the comment here, why does Daddy like butt? And they're wearing a shirt that says butt. Oh. This couple brings their children over, and I'm not even saying, let's say that this is just a couple that knows them innocently, and they bring their children over because they have a great place, and he just seems like a fun gay friend to have, and they have supervised visits with the kid. I'm not even saying that these kids are being trafficked or whatever. It's not impossible, but it could be also just likely that he's getting his weird jollies off by just being around kids, when he has much more, you know, graphic and grotesque relations only in the privacy of whatever. Must have. So the hashtags must have. Playing ping pong with Obama. These guys are connected. Team Obama, woo! So again, they all very much have a side that they're on. Disgusting. Okay, hashtag chicken lovers. That also has a connotation. Now, is this something that I made up or that only exists on 4chan? We'll look at that in just a moment. I want a baby. Oh, dude.
kooks, man.
All right. Whatever weird stuff Biden is doing seems tame after that grotesquity. But you might be asking yourself, Nick, what did you really show? Yeah, maybe the pictures are creepy in a certain connotation, and yeah, maybe a guy shot their hard drive, but what is this all leading up to? Yeah, Arturo's performance art, perhaps? Yeah, in some sense, there is an element of that to a degree, but let me close out by looking at... How should we do this? Okay, so let me bring this up. These are court cases. Whoops. The use of... Okay, so can you see this? The use of that for CP has been referenced in various investigations. I want to make sure it's not... I gotta be careful about what words show up on the screen, because I know they can check for stuff like that, and hopefully this isn't going to be the end of Unism. God forbid. Actually, oh shoot. Just kidding again, boys. I know it probably doesn't work if you do it twice in the same stream, but I hope I at least fooled one person out there. But who knows? Maybe I am... I haven't seen the live chat in a minute. Maybe I am already... maybe the stream's already down. Who knows? But let's just wrap up with this. So, Jared Fogle. The case is an example of how law enforcement tracked down an individual... Okay, so... Although the term... Alright, so that's not a conclusive one. During the investigation, law enforcement agents discovered that he used coded terms like cheese pizza in online forums and chat rooms to refer to CP. So that's 2017, though. Here's one from 2016. You could say, well, this is after. This is almost like backloading it. Or what would you say, retconning? Is that case? But let's look at stories that were prior to 2016. These are... How about this? United States versus Craig A.K. This was a federal court case in 2012. Craig was convicted in 2012 for the... During the investigation, federal agents found that K had been using online chat rooms and peer-to-peer file sharing networks where this term was frequently used. Investigators were able to trace these communications which were disguised by the use of slang terms referred to illicit material. This was among the terms identified by law enforcement as a means to skirt content filters and avoid detection by authorities. What about even earlier? Operation Predator was a broad initiative by Homeland Security between 2003 and 2013. Intercepted numerous online communications where was referred to using terms like cheese pizza. One particular case from 2012 involved a child exploitation ring that used this and similar phrases to exchange illegal material over unregulated online platform. Operation Predator highlighted the prevalence of coded language, including this term, as part of its broader criminal conspiracies. And conspiracies in terms of organized crime, essentially, not conspiracies in that it's not true. This term was part of the toolkit that predators used to evade detection by law enforcement. 2010, 2009, Operation Ore, and this was pertaining to the United Kingdom, was a massive international child exploitation investigation that spanned several years. During the investigation, authorities noted that terms like this were used as coded references. So again, the idea that, oh, this is spurious, or there's no precedent, or there's only, what about, there's another one. Well, let's even look how this all kicked off in the first place. Or this is how the news media covered it. Like, why is it important for a weirdo like me to bring up this stuff? Or even Flesh Simulator, a guy to cover things like this? Because this is exactly how these issues are discussed in the media. Let me see. We don't have to go into the pedestrian. Maybe I'll do this on another stream. I want to end it soon, but the thing I will end on, I think I've established essentially the case for these terms being used, that it's not just spurious, that it's not only these people using it. It could mean anything. No, it is integral to the subculture that terms, that those specific terms and terms like it are used and are known widely. And here's even how, you know, in the video, the Flesh Simulator video, they talked about this specific, you know, how crazy it was that this guy just shot a hard drive and then went out to the street and laid down and was arrested. He waited for the police to come. There were no police on the scene. He put down his gun, went out to the street. The day after, apparently, he had been caught in a DUI and had hit a pedestrian. An out-of-work actor who hits a pedestrian and then later is suddenly this. So he was released. This was in 2021. This guy was released. Or he would be released. Look, again, he recorded himself going there. I know in a world where, like, the church, Christ Church person recorded themselves doing their terrible things, I guess it makes sense for someone to do this, but it also makes sense if you want it to be conclusively tied to these conspiracies. So how do they refer to this? This time, instead of... Wait a minute. So on he drove... Okay, wait a minute. He slipped out of bed before sunrise and started driving, spurred by the conspiracy theory that would soon help make famous. As he sped the 350 miles from his hometown in North Carolina to the nation's capital, Edgar Madison Welsh tilted his cell phone camera towards himself and pressed record. "I can't let you grow up in a world that's so corrupt by evil," he told his two young daughters that he had left sleeping back in Salisbury, "without at least standing up for you and the other children like you." So on he drove to the supposed center of the corruption, Comet Ping Pong, a popular pizzeria in Northwest Washington where, according to the false conspiracy known as Pizzagate, powerful Democrats were abusing children. And Welsh, a struggling 28-year-old warehouse worker, they don't say actor, although, again, an actor in North Carolina is also a little bit strange, like how much acting, maybe he was in New York or LA, but a struggling 28-year-old warehouse worker intended to rescue them. 4 years later, thousands of people would follow Welsh's fervid path to Washington, drawn from across the country by an ever more toxic stew of disinformation and extremism, including Pizzagate's successor, Q thing. This time, instead of a pizzeria, they would target the U.S. Capitol. The Jan 6 siege. So we're all tying this together. January 6th siege would lead to 5 deaths. No, it didn't. More than 200 arrests and the second impeachment of Donald Trump. Its brazenness would shake faith in American democracy. Bruh. That's a bruh from me. Above all, it would reveal how conspiracy theories have spread under a president who often promoted them, growing from Welsh's trip to Washington shortly after the 2016 election to the hundreds who stormed the Capitol to keep Trump in office, some proudly wearing t-shirts with the QAnon, where we go one, we go all. I shouldn't even have said that. I know this is going to get restricted. Fuck. But there's one part in here where okay, so here we go. WikiLeaks had released hacked emails of Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman, John Podesta, a few weeks earlier. In an 8-year-old email, Alefontis had asked Podesta about a fundraiser at Comet. Others, Podesta talked about getting this word. On internet message boards, anonymous users falsely claimed that this was code for this, and that Comet was the site of vast democratic bad things ring. It went viral. So again, falsely claimed that this is connected. Motherfucker, there's decades of cases where this is well established. And yet, it's small lies like this, again, I guess I'll just say it this way, and I'll end with this, boys. Oh fuck, have I been muted this whole time? I'm stressed that I'll just realize I've been muted the entire time. We'll end with this, guys. Disaster reborn from a disaster reborn to a barren disgrace. Remastered defeat in an infinite space. Regret in the form of the blistering skies. Truth islands amidst a vast ocean of lies. There you go. I hope that answers all your questions, guys. Thank you so much for joining me for the screen. Thanks again to for today's sponsors. Oh man, I'm realizing I should have all the things I missed out on. Thank you again to our sponsors. Oh yeah, here it is.
Always wanted to have that passionate marriage.
If you guys want to get your passion of marriage back, go ahead and take that free masterclass. But other than that, guys, there's really not much else to say other than I appreciate you for watching the show. Like the fucking stream, boys. Let's fucking go! Death to PDFs. I don't know if you're going to need to say more than that. Death to PDFs. Thanks for watching, guys. Click the like. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. What's wrong with you, bro? The fuck?
Oh my God!
But other than that, there's really not much else to say other than we will see you in the circle.